Jacksonville is one of the fisheries over the last, I'm going to say 15 to 20 years that I've become fairly familiar with, only because of my participation in some of the redfish tour events. And we've had several filming episodes in the Jacksonville and St. Augustine areas that has made me feel relatively comfortable when I come here to fish. But the style that Ed Kabler provides for his guests when he invites you over here to fish is a lot different than what I'm typically accustomed to fishing in the creeks. We're talking deep water when you're fishing with Ed. We're talking nothing but rocks and docks. It's really cool how this place is, it's a Navy town, it's a huge port here on the East Coast. And then the trout fishery here is kind of something that people don't realize how good the trout fishery is.
It's a different fish. It's a different trout.
And the way that you go about catching them is a little bit different because most guys relate trout to shallow water certain times of the year, and to be able to catch them in deeper water, that's the real trick, I guess, if you will. And off the docks, I can't believe it's just kind of a power fishing rock and dock deal.
Exactly.
Much different than the guys that focus on the creeks like Browns Creek and Dunn's Creek and Clapboard.
Yeah, different game.
Totally different game.
Let's go see if we can get them.
Jacksonville and the little tributaries off the St. Johns River, these creeks, Browns Creek, Dunn's Creek, Simpsons Creek, all these creeks are what I'm typically familiar with. Those are the creeks that we're poling or trolling motoring in and searching for redfish. But when you go fishing and you're fishing nothing but the deep stuff, it's another world. And it's a world that's really been revealed to me by Ed Kabler, because that's something that we didn't do a whole lot of when I was fishing here in the early 2000s and all the way up into the last few years. The only deep water experience I had was fishing those jetties, and we would bang those jetties for big bull redfish. But fishing it for trout, fishing it for flounder is much different, and the technique is unique. It really is. Trout, yes. Fish have got some thickness to them, don't they? They're thick.
They really are.
Their tails are darker here too. Darker than my side. First coast trout are a little bit different looking.
Got some fights on too.
It's a solid fish there, man. I met Eddie through the guys at Miralore. Ed has his own separate enterprise, his own business. He's not a fishing guy. This is just a guy who loves to tournament fish and loves to fish, period. So they started using Ed's talents to create the catalog every year. I mean, these trout are so unique, comparatively speaking, to the rest of the state. Now, you've got some really big fish in Southeast Florida, but they're not reliably caught. You have to be there on the perfect moon, the perfect tide. The way Ed fishes for these big sow trout, these big heavy trout, is you can produce several of these every day during the run. And right now, we're in the run, the spawn run. March, April, and early May, you can really whack these fish. When you think about the number of species that utilize the structure around here, it's like an ecosystem within its own self. It's a reef, basically. When you're fishing a jetty or some riprap shoreline, bulkheads, pilings, docks, there's so much food, so much bait that's associated with it, and there are the current breaks themselves. This creates kind of a cool place for all the fish that live in the river to kind of use the cover, not only for food, for predation, but they also use it just as a way to rest. You just have no idea on a given day working rocks and docks what you might encounter. I'm sure there are times when there's cobia and triple tail floating down this stuff. Good hit.
Yeah. Feels like a redfish though.
I'm gonna pick my chatterbait up.
Definitely a redfish. Oh, it's a tarpon.
I love when a tarpon shows up to
Trout fish.
For trout fishing. It's cool. You know, when you go trout fishing, you don't bring gear to go tarpon fishing. Got a feeling he could be jumping up here in a second. If you've ever heard the expression, bringing a knife to a gunfight, this exemplifies that. Because when you're fishing with trout gear, you're trying to fish with medium and medium light gear. And to fish with medium light gear and then all of a sudden stick a tarpon that, what do you say this thing weighs? Probably 30, 40 pounds?
40 pounds maybe.
40-pound fish, all of a sudden, you got your hands full.
Stella's putting in work though.
Now, everything has to go right for us to get it up next to the boat.
It's up to you.
When you get to the front again, I'll put some of the hardware away here.
Woo!
He's hooked in the right spot.
That was fun. I mean, I catch them, but usually small little teams, you know? 10 pounders. This is the biggest one I've caught in a while, or hooked in a while.
This is kind of one of those rare moments in time where you're having a typical day of fishing and you're thinking, oh, we're catching flounder, we're catching mangrove snapper, we're catching, you know, redfish, we're catching a trout. Spanish mackerel, ladyfish, and then out of nowhere, a tarpon shows up in a river.
Ah!
You pulled off?
Thank God. Thank God.
When you're fishing here, or when someone says, hey, where are you going to film next? You go, oh, I'm going to Jacksonville, Florida. The first thing comes into everyone's mind is, oh, you're going to go there to catch bull reds, or you're going to go there to catch reds, trout, and flounder. That's what they think. You have no idea. You're never thinking you're going to jump a tarpon. You're going to catch a snook. You don't think about that stuff. It just doesn't enter your mind. You just don't think of those places here on the First Coast producing tropical species like tarpon and snook. It's just, I don't know, I was shocked, I was surprised. Pleasantly at that though.
There you go. Nice trout.
Really good trout.
That's a snook. It's a
Get out.
snook. North
Get
Florida
out.
snook.
Got a snook.
Jacksonville snook. So good seeing those here. You don't get those here very often. That's actually a rare catch.
Yeah.
That's a trophy catch here in Jacksonville.
You know, I'm with you today. Snook.
Jacksonville snook.
Snook. That officially is the furthest north snook I've caught.
That list is getting long.
Yeah.
Nice job, CA. It's a great catch.
When I think about speckled trout fishing, I fish the Forgotten Coast where we've done stuff with Jordan Todd. I fish in the Nature Coast zone and down in Tampa Bay. And it's a different style of trout fishing. And the fish themselves, look, the appearance of the fish is much different. Longer, more slender. Even the color is a little richer over there. These trout here may look a little bit washed out, but they're still freckled really nice. But the biggest difference is how big around they are, how deep they are from back to belly. And they're so fat, honest to goodness, that their heads look disproportionately small, if that can be possible. They're so big around. And they're strong. I mean, it was something that I talked to Ed about in the boat, how strong these fish are. These fish are strong because they're swimming in current. And it makes for a unique experience. It's really turned into, in my opinion, one of the premier trout destinations in the state of Florida. And I look forward to coming here every season just because this trout bite is just lights out, maybe the best. What do you got, partner?
Got another one. Not a stud, but it's a good fish.
I have a ton of fun. I mean, doing this to me is the most fun.
Like you said, light drag, you gotta play them.
Gotta have that light drag.
Look at the body.
That last one jerked the rod right out of my hand.
Around here we call these big body Buicks.
Is that what you call them?
Yep. It's a great fish. You see it, big body Buicks. Old school Buick too.
Man, that is, I gotta get you a pic with that one. That one there is, I'm gonna stop fishing because I want to get a picture. That is a serious wide body there. Serious wide body, Eddie. Oh yeah, baby. We are in a rhythm here. This one's a good one.
He's on a good one.
This is a good one. I don't want to get me rocked up.
I think you got a big boy, CA.
I don't want to get it rocked up here.
Buick.
Buick.
Woo!
Oh.
Net. Need the net for that one.
Yeah, that's underneath my feet here.
You never see CA with a net. It says something here.
Coughed up a giant skeleton. Oh, dude.
That's a Buick.
That is a Buick.
That's what we came to Jacksonville for. Woo!
Guys, this is what you go to Jacksonville for. Holy cow. That is what you come to Jacksonville for, right there. That is unbelievable. Look at the size of that trout. That's got to be
good fish.
That's a good fish. That's a good fish.
Dog-boned it.
He dog-boned it. I mean, that thing has got a mouth. That's a big plug, and I'm gonna be real careful with you.
I got him.
Okay, that part's out. Let me rotate that out. We got to get a picture with this guy.
That's what we came for.
Damn, at home I'd be.
The sad thing is this fish has already spawned out. So it ain't got the weight it should, but it's a stud.
Unbelievable. I could just tell the difference on the thump. I mean, the
feel it through your arm.
It was like, and it loaded and it wasn't going anywhere and the drag just kept steadily sliding.
Look at the head on them.
The trout really seem to fire off on a pre-front, which is, we have now. You can see behind us that we got some weather rolling in, and right after this rain, we're gonna have some cold come in. So when fish really start to fire off, so the fish usually spawn between March, April, May, early May. They're a little late this year, but anytime you got a pre-front conditions, the fish usually fire off, and the big girls will chew, and that's kind of how it played out for us today.
That's what I'm talking about. Big fish. All right, it was very simple setup today. In the tackle talk, we're gonna talk about just basically what I used. There were a few variations that Ed used. So I brought a rod that I felt would give me both the advantage with trout and with the bigger redfish. So I brought the Shimano X Pride. This is the 7'2" medium heavy. It has a fast action, not an extra fast action, so it has a little bit of give. I mated that up with the 4000 Vanford. This is the new Vanford that in all intents purposes has supplanted the old CI4 series. So this is the new Stratic that you're gonna wanna use. I packed it full of 10-pound super slick Power Pro V2. Does a fantastic job for casting distance. Attached to that, I have about 3 foot of what I would say is 25-pound fluorocarbon. Now I vacillated back and forth between 30 and 25 because Ed was using 25. The cool thing about the plug that we were using is it has a split ring that already gives you the loop knot. But I noticed Ed himself had taken the split ring off and tied his own loop knot to give it even more action. Now the way this plug really works, the reason we chose the lip L30 was the fact that it's a floating bait that'll float on the surface and you can rip it down and then let it relax, it'll back up a little bit. Rip it down, rip it down, rip it down, and then it'll float back up a little bit. That dive and stall, dive, and stall action is what drives trout nuts, drives them out of their mind. It also worked for about 7 or 8 other species, including a tarpon. That's basically the simple setup that will put you on the path to success here in Jacksonville.
That's a redfish.
Nice.
I felt him thump it.
On the rocks. No head shakes.
Doesn't know he's hooked yet.
About to run, isn't he? This is going to be a full-grown redfish then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A netter?
If you want to grab them with a face full of trebles.
Well, I mean, if you don't risk it, you can't get the biscuits.
That's a fact.
You know, this is only a 30-minute show. Just letting you know,
It's supposed to be a trout show.
Better get that net ready.
There he is.
Oh, it is.
It's a grown one.
It's a grown one. Holy smokes. Those plugs do catch redfish.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna let you handle that one.
Always, you get one undone.
Pretty fish though. It's a great Jacksonville redfish.
Tell you what, this one, I could see where this would have been trouble on that 1000 size Vanford. This is a chunk here. This thing weighs probably close to, what do you think, 15 pounds?
Yeah, 15, 18 pounds.
That's a chunk. That is a chunk of copper right there. If this show truly depicts the way that Eddie and I were fishing together, this was a hard bait show and we used one lure all day long for the most part. I made a couple of swap ups with top water. Understanding the baits, what they do best is a big part of the mirror lure culture. So guys that are hardcore mirror lure guys, they get it, they dig it, and they can make the most of it and catch a lot of fish. But really appreciate mirror lure, really appreciate Ed Kabler's effort and Nate's effort being the camera guy and Colorblind Media for putting this thing together. It was an unbelievable episode.
Turn left onto Heckscher Drive.
Action!
All right, today's tackle top.
That's like the rarest. That was it. You get one a season. That's it. Wish you feel proud.
Getting so many beers in me now.
It's time to wrap it up. Yes!
Yeah, boys. See, boys.